This is the Fight Fam with Pete Hoffman, and we are being joined right now by UFC lightweight fighter Scott Holtzman. Scott, thanks so much for joining on, man. We appreciate it, man. And how you doing? How's training going? How things, man?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Been wanting to come on for a long time. So happy to be here. Training's going good, man. I'm out in Phoenix right now. I'm getting dialed in. I wouldn't say I made some changes, but I haven't been in training camp out here. The lab is a team that the MMA lab in Phoenix is a team that I started with kind of early on when I was first getting into the UFC, and then past couple years we had a baby, so I wanted to be a little closer to home, closer to my son. So done some training camps in Charlotte, and then of course at home in Knoxville. So now I'm back out here. Gonna maybe do another one right now, and in anticipation for the next fight.
That's awesome. How old is your son, out of curiosity?
He's about 2.5. He'll be 3 May 9th, but he has red hair, man, and he's a pistol. So he's working us over bad, man. We're struggling. We're on the ropes. We're battling.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I got three of my own. I have the youngest he's gonna be 4 July or August, I should say, and it's chaos. But I can only imagine, man, how you juggle training and a 2-year-old, man. It's nuts. How do you try to find that time for family life as well as training?
Well, it's tough. I don't have a ton of training partners in Knoxville. It's kind of a smaller city. So when it gets down into the meat and potatoes of training camp, I have to travel a little bit. The reason I was in Charlotte was I could go Monday through Friday, and then I would drive home on the weekends. It was only about 3.5 hours. Of course, that's hard to do. It's hard to make that drive after a full week of training, but being able to at least see my son for a couple of days was definitely worth it. I mean, you know how it is with kids, man. You miss a couple of days and it feels like a year. So I'm already struggling with that a little bit, being so far away from home, not getting to see the fam right now. But the best thing I can do for the family is put bread on the table and win and not get hurt. So I used to do this for me, but now it's, I got to put it in perspective and kind of do it for them. So that's what I'm telling myself right now. It's getting me through it.
And you are by far the toughest division in all of MMA, in the lightweight division. I mean, take me through that. Each fight listen, you're a fighter. It's not in there. You're not playing games. You're not in there you shake hands at the end of each fight, but still it's the most dangerous sport out there.
Yeah.
You have a family. You have to put bread on the table, but how do you go into a cage and what's the philosophy going into the mentality? Give me that insight, man.
Well, first off, to go in there and do that, you have to have a few screws loose. So anybody that tells you that fighters don't have some screws loose is a liar. But I mean, basically, when you start to look at it as a business, you start looking at guys, and once you get to a certain level, you're not really scared of guys or anything. I mean, my division is ridiculously good. I mean, there's not a bad. I feel like 1 through 30 could beat each other on any given night, on the right night. But so I mean, after a while, you're not really scared of guys, but you also know that if you don't win, you don't get paid as much. So you're kind of fighting for family and putting bread on the table too. So that becomes a big thing eventually. But it's definitely not easy, and my division is ridiculously stacked, like I was saying. But it's kind of unfortunate too, because if you look at other divisions like light heavyweight or even heavyweight, it's like, you win 2 fights and you do pretty good. Shit, you're up in the top 15, top 10 sometimes. And the problem with the lightweight too, everybody's so good, and you got to fight all the good guys, and it takes years and years to climb up into the top 10. And if you lose one, you're set back a couple years, but then you're getting paid the same, no matter if the guy's good or not. So unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to put bread on the table in the lightweight division than it would be in a lot of other divisions, probably most of the other ones.
And I feel like, it's just not saying it's top heavy at all because it's not. But I feel like the stars come out of this lightweight division and they, Conor McGregor comes around when he feels like it. Michael Chandler just entered the rankings and picks and chooses who he wants to fight. It's gotta be tough. Like you've worked hard. Your record is phenomenal. I mean, you're 14-4, right?
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal record in one of the toughest divisions in the sport. And yet it's tough to really get those shots. I've seen some other people, and we've seen Cody Garbrandt in the bantamweight rose super fast. Guys like Kamaev is coming up in the welterweight division. He's flying up there. Obviously, he can't fight right now with his COVID issues. But you see all these other divisions where these guys just kind of jump up real quick. You're right. Yeah. It's just so stacked for the top 30. You can't really make any ground. It's got to be frustrating now.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely frustrating. I mean, before the last fight, I was knocking on the door, and if I beat Benil, then I'm up ranked in top 15, top 10, and that was real attractive, and I wanted to do that and been working hard for that, but it didn't happen. So now, you got to fight your way back up, but that takes a while, man. And then you see guys too. I was talking about this with somebody today. Those guys that rise up fast like that come off the Contender Series, or they come and take a short notice fight and have a good win. The UFC pushes them really fast, and most of the time it's too fast. So you get these young guys that it takes time to develop in fighting, but they move these guys super fast. And then all of a sudden these guys are up fighting top 15, top 10 guys. And then they start getting knocked down a few notches and start getting beat up a little bit and sent back down, and then climb their way back up. I think a prime example of that, some guys on the Contender Series, but maybe lightweight, is Alex Hernandez. He came in short notice, knocked out Benil with a really good punch, but then all of a sudden he was brand new to UFC, maybe like 5, 6, 7-0, but he's up and could only fight top 10 guys because he knocked off a top 10 guy. Right. So then he's stuck and took a couple losses, got bounced around, got beat out of the rankings. Now he's kind of on his way back up after he's developed some, but it's an unforgiving game, and you get up there with the lead dogs, and it's a tough living.
No, that's definitely not easy, man. But I mean, I don't know if you're that young, how much that could screw you up. Like I was always a Johnny Walker fan. I was like looking to see what he could do in the light heavyweight division, and I saw him the way he got dismantled by Corey Anderson. It was shocking to me. And was that too quick of a journey for him?
Yeah, I mean, that's another example. Johnny Walker is a great example because he was a showman. He danced, he did all the social media stuff, and the UFC pushed him real quick, but fight wise, was he ready for that? Was he ready for those guys? Probably not. The UFC hype machine, man, I'm telling you, they could put my grandma on some UFC commercials and say that she's the best new hottest thing in town and can beat all the guys, and they would believe it. Just like when Joe Rogan said that he thought Ronda Rousey could beat Mayweather in boxing.
Oh, I know.
Come on now.
I know. Hey, listen, it's an ESPN world you're living in now. Everything is hyped up. Everything's top 10. You know what I mean? That's what they're looking for, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, have you seen the difference from being on Fox and now being on ESPN? Have you noticed a difference at all in any capacity?
We don't really notice a difference. I mean, for us, even when it was, Fight Pass, Fox Sports 1, ESPN, the camera crews are all the same guys. They just switched the logos on the cameras. But I mean, it's all the same, really. But I think we're getting a lot more eyeballs on ESPN. Obviously, they're the leader. So, and for me, it's cool. When I was a kid, everybody watches Sports Center and ESPN. So it was definitely a bucket list thing for my son and I to be on Sports Center, the intro to Sports Center one day, and to fight on ESPN and to win on ESPN. is cool. So I think ESPN is the leader. I'm definitely proud to be on there.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, my kid. I mean, I'm in radio, so we have our own, we
Yeah,
have our own stations, we have our own thing and whatnot. But he half the time changes it to go to ESPN because he wants to watch
yeah,
highlights. He wants to watch the actual sports. He doesn't want to talk about it as much. He wants to watch the.
yeah.
So I get it, man. No, I mean that's an awesome experience. Who's the coolest UFC analyst that you've spoken to, or who's the guy that you feel like is just like the most chill, most laid back, or coolest?
Uh, John Anik's always been pretty nice. I think he's starting to get a little bigger now, so I'm
The
not sure if
head, the
he's
head
as,
getting bigger, or just
yeah, it could be a little bit. He's not as widespread cool, or maybe he doesn't go out of his way to be as cool. But he's always been super nice to me. Let's see who else. Mike Goldberg was always real nice to me back in the day. Of course, he's not around
I
in the
know.
UFC, which is unfortunate. Um, but I'd probably say Anik was the coolest. Most of the guys are usually pretty nice to me. DC is one of my favorites too. I enjoy him. He's just a nice guy overall. He's super funny. So
Yeah,
I really enjoy all those guys.
it's a good cast. It's funny because I mean you see analysts in all other sports. Like you're a big sports fan, am I right?
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, you watch baseball, you watch hockey, you watch NBA football. You see all these guys that are like in front of the mic, and they played sports for all these years. But I feel like UFC and MMA, the talent is unbelievable. That you could step in the cage and be so killer, but then get in front of the mic and have such a personality. It's amazing that they're doing that. I think that the UFC has really built up a really nice crop of analysts.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, that's hard work, that being on camera. And I don't think people understand, the preparation it takes and to be comfortable on that camera. It's hard, man. So I really admire those guys who transition from fighting to analysts, or even guys that are doing it while they fight. Because it takes a lot of work, man. And to study those fights and know all that, it's tough. But
I hear they get a lot of cheat sheets though along the way. So
yeah,
you and I have to watch. You have to watch every ounce of tape. I have to watch every ounce of tape. I think
yep,
Anna gets a nice little booklet of notes
yeah.
that I don't get.
Yeah, they do. You'd be surprised how smart some of these fans are and stuff, man. Sometimes fans will rattle off stats about me that I had no idea. So,
Oh yeah.
uh,
What's the craziest stat that you've ever heard, or anything that could pops to you?
I don't know. Sometimes people talk about. I mean, I was kind of surprised. I've been up in the top 10, top 5 in striking accuracy and takedown accuracy and stuff like that in the division. So I didn't know that. That was surprising. Sometimes the stats pop up on the TV and I see them for the first time. But sometimes guys will talk about old interviews that I've done, and I've done so many now, of course. I mean, it's just part of it, but I don't watch them back all the time, and people talk about an interview and some sort of question I answered. And so sometimes I'm blown away by stuff like that. So, and it's a shame because there are a lot of good fans out there, but like I was talking about Anik kind of getting a big head, it's not really that, but sometimes in this game, the fans will kind of turn you cold. And I think it's unfortunate for the true fans because we're so accessible now. Um, it's easy to really talk shit to us and everything else. So a lot of those trolls really ruin it for a lot of the good fans. We're not as interactive as we could be because we're constantly taking shit on there. So,
Dude, that's something that I was talking about all the time. Like, so we have a bunch of athletes around here that there's always like in the spotlight. Like on the Mets, Marcus Stroman is somebody who has been vocal on Twitter, and he blocks a lot of guys, and he doesn't want to hear any nonsense. And it's a very odd dynamic between the fans and between the keyboard heroes and stuff like that, keyboard warriors and stuff like that. But I always defend him because I always say that it's not easy. Like you're in a sport, you're in the spotlight, and you don't need to be seeing this nonsense from people. And fans are so easily accessible to talk shit to you constantly.
yeah,
I don't blame him for wanting to block somebody.
yeah.
He doesn't. You don't need that energy. You just don't.
No, no, and the problem is too, and I'll block people most of the time if somebody comes at me with just something totally out of left field and just craziness, then I'll just be like, man, I block. I don't want to hear that again. And sometimes people, like friends of mine, they'll get on there and stand up for me and stuff like that when people get on my page and talk shit. But they're like, man, how do you just let people say that and then not respond? Or I'm like, man, I've just dealt with it so much. Like, you learn after a while, you can respond and burn those guys down and make them feel dumb or whatever you want to do, but they never stop. Like, they
No.
will never stop responding. So I could waste hours just chatting back and forth with a troll, man. And wow, you suck. You're ranked 22nd. I'm like, well, man, I'm ranked higher than you. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
but you're still a bum. I'm like, well, so are you. Well, yeah, but you're not good. And it's like, man, all right, I'll see you later.
What are we supposed to do with that? Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I get it, dude. Yeah. Well, you gotta appreciate the passion of the fans, but on the other hand, you gotta be like, okay, just take a chill pill. We have
yeah,
to take a break from social media at some point in time. But that's the good and the bad of it. You guys are easily accessible, so I can get to see what you're doing, what you guys are promoting. I always feel like you look at Trevor Bauer in baseball. The guy just signed a freaking $100 million deal for 3 years. 40 million for 1 year, and it's like, oh, it's because of basically what he's done through social media, his promotions. He's trying to build up a company. It's a good idea. So you could try to get it that way, but on the other hand, there's a lot of negativity on it too. So I agree,
yeah.
man. It's tough. What other sports are you really big onto? Like, what's your favorite sport besides like MMA?
Well, I used to be a huge hockey fan, and then when I kind of started MMA, I sort of transitioned out of it, uh, sort of closed the door on it. But I have guys I've met from the Predators and other teams throughout the year that I've been friends with. They've been at fights or whatnot. So now I'll kind of watch hockey and I'll watch baseball just to watch friends play. I'll try to tune in for Jan's games whenever I can catch them. There's another guy from Knoxville, Mike Miner. He's
Oh
pitching
yeah,
for the Royals now, I think, this year. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll try to watch those guys play. I have a golfer friend, Scott Stallings, so I'll try to watch golf every now and then. So now it's really just trying to tune in to watch friends.
Who is the best jiu-jitsu specialist out of those guys?
Probably Jan. Jan knows a little bit of jujitsu. He kind of sandbags a little bit, but he trained some jujitsu early on. He's Brazilian, man. I think all those Brazilians come out of the womb knowing a little bit of jujitsu.
Yeah. Oh, dude. First of all, I can't even believe he's the first Brazilian baseball player ever. So that's a shocker of itself. But yeah,
Yeah,
dude, he's grown into it. No question. I'm surprised he didn't go that way or soccer. That's what you would expect.
yeah,
Soccer player, but he came to baseball and he's fantastic at it. Um,
yeah,
it's got to be cool. That's the one thing. Like I've spoken to like a bunch of people, even like Matt Brown, for example. I spoke to him, and he's like big into like music and like rock music and metal and stuff like that. He met a lot of cool musicians and bands and stuff like that. Is that one cool thing about MMA and UFC that's kind of opened that platform to meet other athletes?
yeah, yeah. I think for sure. I mean, I'm in Scottsdale. I think he's playing for the Giants now. He likes to box and he's a UFC fan, so that was pretty cool. I think maybe he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I'm not sure, but
Oh, what was that? You
he's been
broke up for a
around.
second. Who was that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's for sure. I met Evan Longoria today.
Oh
He
yeah.
plays for the
Oh yeah,
Giants.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He likes to box and he likes UFC too. So he was in today working out with at my gym over in Scottsdale that I do my strength and conditioning with. Jan actually worked with that guy too. His Premier Fitness Systems over in Scottsdale. Guy there, Brandon Harris, is amazing. So I meet a lot of guys through there, and then meeting other pro athletes. I think there's a mutual respect there for any type of sport that's done at the highest level for guys. And then, I mean, fighting is the ultimate sport. Everybody likes to watch. There's no rules to learn really. You just see two guys out there beating on each other, and everybody enjoys that.
What got you into fighting? What really was there someone in particular? Was it a family member? Was it a fight that you saw on TV? What really got you into fighting?
Uh, I was kind of struggling after college baseball, hockey. I was working in a cubicle all day and staring at a computer and talking on the phone, and it was driving me crazy. So I had a friend at the time who was training, so I just kind of followed him to the gym to do some jiu-jitsu. I started with jiu-jitsu, and then did a fight about a year later. Won in 40 seconds, didn't even get hit. Did another fight, won. So I was like, all right, I'll just go till I lose. And then I made it all the way to the UFC until I lost. And then, man, I'm in the UFC, and I'm like, holy shit, these dudes are like Division I wrestlers. They're world champion kickboxers, jiu-jitsu. I'm just a athlete from Tennessee, no combat sports experience. I'm up here with these dudes who have made a lifetime out of it. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. As long as I don't have to sit in a cubicle, I'm good.
Yeah, no, that's freaking crazy. We talked a little bit earlier about, like, the lightweight division, and you particularly your training. Is there someone particular that you really want to fight right now? Is there any name? Is there anything that you're really looking to eyeing right now as far as fighting goes?
No, there are just probably a handful of guys kind of right around me that, makes sense, but you just never know right now with COVID. You don't know who's wanting to fight, who's not wanting to fight. So I just said, man, just give me somebody. I don't care. They said they had an opening on the April 17th card. So I'm out here training, man. I'm ready to go. If that doesn't happen, I'll try to hop on something short notice. But I mean, it's, you're just not scared of any of those guys anymore. It just becomes another fight, and everybody's good. So there's not really any easy fights, and you get paid the same for everything. So you just got to kind of be okay with it.
It's funny, but Bilal Muhammad is just taking over for on the Leon Edwards fight, because Chimaev just is with the COVID stuff is just not able to fight right now. I'm not really sure how bad he is, but it seems like it's getting pretty bad. But like a short notice fight, it's crazy because that type of fight for Muhammad is such a huge fight. Edwards, hasn't lost in forever, so talented. And you see like things like Biz Bing back in the day when he took on Rockhold for a title short notice and he knocked him out. It was just, I mean, that was for a title, but still short notice fight can really just jump you in the rankings and put you in the spotlight. I mean, is that even better for you? Would you even prefer like a short notice fight over that, like an April 17th fight?
I've done a short notice fight or two. And in Muhammad's situation, he's coming off a fight. He didn't get too beat up really. He's kind of capitalizing on that clout. He was calling for a higher ranked opponent, so it's going to work out really good for him. I think in that situation, man, I would do it too. He's he's motivated, he's hungry, he's all that. But for me, the short notice fights, I took one and lost, and after that, I was like, man, that didn't really make sense. Why did I have to jump on that fight and try to do that? I lost money. Nobody knows. After about a month, nobody remembers it was a short notice fight when they look back at my record. They don't know that I only had 3 months to train and had to lose 30 pounds, blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't make sense. And the UFC doesn't care. Everybody thinks the UFC, like, you're doing them a favor, but, man, they don't give a shit about you. So whether you did them a favor or not, really. So I just assume not do them, really. If I start to get hard up and I'm in good shape and I'm really needing to fight, I'll do it, but there's not really any upside to it for me.
Really, that's crazy. I mean, listen, I get it. It's you prefer the full training. You prefer especially if you know the opponent and you could really like game plan. I mean, that's what it's about. A lot of game plan. You're not one of these people that are just going to go in there blind and be like, all right, I'm going to work on myself and work on what my techniques. You're going to go and sit there and study your opponent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do that, and then I have a lot of weight to lose, and then the pace that I fight at, I have to be in really great shape. So there's a lot of variables in there that aren't in my favor on a short notice fight. So, I mean, everybody will say that. But, if I have an opportunity for a camp, I'm going to do that all day.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I see. Oh, is there anything in your future for a different weight class, or you're just the 155? That's you.
No, I've been thinking about it. It's just the 15-pound jump is a problem. Like those guys are so big. They're 6 foot, 6'2", 200+ pound men. I'm 5'9", 185 at best. I'm just not big enough frame for those guys. I'm a little too big for lightweight. the cuts are super hard on me. I
Mm.
probably never fight at 100%, but I'm just not big enough for 170 either. Those guys are big. So, um, if they would put a 62 or a 65 in there, I'd be the first one to sign up.
I think there'll be a few people right behind you as well, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's been talked about forever. And it's got to be disappointed too, because you work so hard for that for cutting weight, making sure that you're on point. And you've had a few opponents that miss weight.
Yeah.
I've heard who had that major rant. I'm forgetting now, but it was like so furious. Like, you should lose more than just like, 20-30% of your pay. There should
That
be
was Izzy. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that.
What do you what's the best action in that? What do you see? What do you feel like is the best thing? I always said, why not have them fight for? I know it's crazy for no pay though. Just like totally lose their paycheck because they're still if they win the fight, they're still a good spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem too. Benil, he missed weight big time. 3-4 pounds, is a big deal. Um, but it's just not a financial burden enough to want to push through and want to dedicate yourself to it. I just think they need. I definitely agree with that. It needs to be more harsh penalty. I don't agree with not getting paid at all, man, because you invest money in training camp and all that, and you have to pay people around you. But I also think the penalty should be stiff enough to where you don't want to miss weight. I think that clears up a lot of things, and then it's like, well, if they miss weight, you get 30% of their show purse, but they still get their full win bonus. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, you still get rewarded for winning. Well, you had a huge advantage. Like, he's 3-4 pounds heavier. I came in smaller for the fight by design so I could move more. And then he has this huge weight advantage, man. Everything he hit me with hurt me. It was crazy. So whether or not he just hits, I've heard he hits really hard. And I mean, I know firsthand he hits really hard, but whether or not that weight advantage played into it, who knows? But, I would like to have a equal playing field. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're working your ass off to make sure that you get that 155, and he's clearly misses weight. He didn't properly cut, and do you think that at some point in time you're just like, what, it doesn't make again the I'm not gonna lose enough money where it's really gonna hurt me at all. So I prefer to go into the fight as close to 100% as possible rather than work myself down to try to cut down another pound or two.
Yeah, guys do that all the time.
It's ridiculous.
It's a well-known thing. I mean, that was the thing that Tony Ferguson was saying about Oliveira before that fight. He was saying that Oliveira was just going to sandbag it, miss weight, pay a little money, and then fight heavier, fight in better shape, blah, blah, blah. So guys do that all the time. Yeah.
There's nothing to do, but you can't. There's nothing they can do to stop that because I feel like that's a for the casual fan you might not realize that, but I feel like for the diehards they definitely see that more often, and it's definitely frustrating for sure.
Yeah. No, it is frustrating because you want it to be fair, but guys, they just don't care, man.
No, they don't. That is frustrating. We'll listen. We'll dive into that more.
But also, I mean, too, it's like when they miss weight like that, you could say, well, I don't think I want to fight because it's an unfair advantage. He's way bigger than me. Well, okay, well, you don't get paid. So you're kind of in a bind. Yeah, you make a little more money, but, you're also risking your health, and your potential, your career, really. Because when you lose, it sets you back a ton.
I mean,
Money, all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I sit there and I look at these fights and I always say, like, people ask me for my picks, and I try to stay away from those type of fights because I don't know the mentality for the person that cut the weight, did the work. It's easy to say, okay, this guy did his job, but for the person that didn't cut the weight properly, I don't know where they're at. Was it a really tough weight cut? Did they have to go to the hospital? Did they need fluids? Did they need all this other stuff? Or was it just BS? I mean, I can't stand that. I'm sure you're just as frustrated as anybody else because it's hurt you in some fights. So UFC Vegas 19 is the fight card this weekend. Did you see anybody that you? I mean, listen, there's a lot of heavyweights on there. Are you a big fan of the heavyweights? What are you more for the big bangers, or do you prefer the quicker, more versatile fighters?
No, I like the heavyweight. Sorry, I'm pulling my chicken out of the oven right now.
All good, man. Don't do it.
No, I like the heavyweights, man. I think it's, they're always exciting, right? Like any moment they could, they could have a knockdown. But that's another one of the things, like I said, I think, there's not as many bigger guys out there, especially bigger guys that are athletic and can compete. But, those guys win a couple fights, they're up in the top 10. So
I know.
It works out good for them always.
My boy Andre Arlovsky's still fighting. It's unbelievable. Could you believe that this guy is still out there? At 42 years old, putting up a fight as he normally does. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
In the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Listen, we saw Randy Couture do it till he was 45, 46. Do you see yourself getting into like the 40s, like mid 40s and fighting?
No, not at all, man. That's a little too hard for me. I don't want to do that. It's hard on your body. So, but I still feel good, man. I got a late start, so I don't think I'm as beat up as guys who've maybe been wrestling their whole life or something like that. But, it's definitely hard on your body. So I'm definitely not doing it into my 40s, but I still got some good fight left in me. I'm can still compete with the younger guys and stuff like that. I just can't train like I used to, but I'm definitely gonna continue to put on some exciting fights.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Scott. Man, listen, enjoy your chicken. What do you got going on right now? What are you eating?
And just meal prep, just chicken thighs. That was it. It's boring.
No. Well,
terrible. It's not as glamorous as people think.
Well, dude, you got to be in shape. You got to do what you got to do, man. So I get it, man. Good for you. Yeah. Well, Scott, listen, I appreciate the time, man. And let's catch up again soon, dude. And anything you want to promote? Anything in particular you want to promote?
No, man. I appreciate you having me on. And anytime, man, we can do a round table. If you can put up with my silly Tennessean accent.
No, dude, it was all good, dude. I love it, and we'll get Jan on too. We'll get your buddy Jan on, and we'll go through it. All right?
Yeah, he loves MMA, man. He knows more about it than I do, so he's probably a better guest. That'd be fun.
No, man, you were great, Scott. Listen, I appreciate the time, man, and I'll be in touch. All right?
All righty, appreciate it. Take care.